Hi, I'm Tim Linsdau. I'm a video producer and a Christian. I've been looking at the California General Election Guide today and wanted to talk about what propositions, referendums, and recalls are all about. It can be kind of a complicated thing. Because each one of those words has other words and interpretations. But basically what it is what's called direct democracy. Now we function in a representative republic, a democratic republic. And republics they go way back. I mean, Rome had a republic. They had senators. Athens was more of a direct democracy, where they had direct democracy is where every citizen votes on everything. So Athens was more in that direction, even though they had more of an assembly of some sort. So what happens in this referendum, proposition, recall environment? Well, the referendum is something that is put out by a government, like a legislature. In the California state legislature, if the legislators would want to put forth a bill, a law, a referendum, that directly to the people, that the people would vote on, and not the representatives. Now to me it's a cop-out that they do that, because we elect them to go to the legislature, see what we need for laws, and make those laws for us. That's what we elect them for, because they're close to it. They can hire experts in different fields to make more wise decisions. When they put them out to the people, it's always open to interpretation and confusion. I think they can be written to manipulate people. Maybe yes means no and no means yes. Those type of things happen, and I believe it's a cop-out, unless I don't know why they can't make that decision. They should. And it creates a lot of well, first of all, it costs a lot of money and to do that kind of thing when we have a system already set up in a legislative process. Now that takes me to propositions. Now proposition is more of the straightforward, direct democracy. And that's where all the eligible voters of a state, or we'll call that state California, there's a required number of signatures to get on a written piece of legislation. I should say a proposition. It's with lawyers. It could be anybody that writes these things up, and they put it to the people, and they get enough signatures, they can put this on the ballot. Now it takes a lot of money and time and effort, and afterwards, when they get all those signatures, they have to be verified. There's many times they've done these things where signatures have been falsified, so it's of no benefit to anyone, because you can't do it. And again, they're in peril with the way they've been written, and many times if they pass, then a single judge can strike them down. And many people will say, how is that possible if this whole state has had the opportunity to vote on something. And they voted in that a single person could block it. Now, of course, that thing can be carried to the Supreme Court, which is a whole process of getting there, and the Supreme Court may not listen to it. So there's all kinds of peril in there. But that shows you why one person can block it. Now, you might ask, how could one person block it? Well, look at the legislative process. In a legislature where they bring bills to the floor and go through the House and the Senate, the lower and the upper parts of the legislature, to finally get a law passed, which allows them a lot of time to perfect the bill. The mistakes in it, its inadequacies, and that's the idea of the legislature. And if the legislators are getting good feedback from their constituency on a particular decision, it helps them to better refine that law in the legislative process. But again, the proposition circumvents that with direct democracy. And that's where you end up with this struggle. Well, California has many propositions now. And every one of us as a citizen have to go through these books and wherever other information we can get to make a decision of yes or no. And many times they're politically driven. One side or the other wants this particular thing. This year in California, it's gas tax is a big one. The legislature and the governor signed in a gas tax that raised the taxes for vehicles, and also put more tax onto our gasoline. And they could do it for many reasons. I mean, some people, they may legitimately need the money, but some say the money doesn't really end up going for the roads, it goes for something else. And that's an issue. But that gives you an idea about propositions and referendums. Generally, the referendum is driven by already elected legislators. And I would say it's because they acquiesce their responsibility back to the people for who knows what reason. The proposition is driven by the people themselves. They may be so upset with their legislators, their leaders, that they figure they have to take things into their own hands. But you see the perils in that. And part of this referendum proposition system is also recall. Now, recall in general has to do with recalling an elected official. And that again is direct democracy. That's based on getting the votes, the numbers of people to agree to recall a particular elected official. In California a few years ago, the irony here, they had a recall of a governor. And it was all over the same gas tax, vehicle tax issue. He was actually thrown out of office because of that. And so many years later, we're right back at it again. We're not recalling the governor, but we're in essence recalling the proposition, recalling the law made by the legislature and the governor to raise the tax on gas and car taxes. So we're right back there, and this time the people are trying to remove that through direct democracy, not through the legislative process. So it does open it up to legal challenges again. The legislators, the governor may fight it in all kinds of other legal fashions available to them. And that puts us right back in the hole where we're maybe doing this all over again. We hope not. But that's the process of direct democracy. And you can see the pitfalls in it because our founding fathers creating the Constitution and establishment of the United States of America understood politics and people and their behavior quite well in developing the Constitution and our form of government through representation. It's a little bit harder for us to see at this stage of the game because our government is becoming more centrally located, such as in the federal government. And when you get so much into the federal government, it's hard for people to keep any control or in touch with it. But you get the government down closer into the cities, counties, even in a school board. They have an easier access of affecting change because those people are much closer to them than, say, a congressman or a senator or a president. Or, as things happen now, a bureaucracy, which is probably impossible for us to affect. So that's one of the dangers of direct democracy. Thank you for listening today on direct democracy and representative government. Like and comment on my video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.